Hello, my name is Elizabeth Sheridan, and I was placed in a junior to senior ESC class at Palm Coast High School, with the teacher being Miss Murphy. The grade for Palm Coast High School in Flagler County is a B. Planning and preparation. Miss Murphy has a planning period at the very beginning. So her first period is where she would plan out for her day or week or even an IEP meeting that she might have later on, or you have a meeting scheduled with other teachers that she works closely with virtually. She does require for the students to at least submit two assignments for other classes while in her class by the end of the week. And she also requires a daily word to be submitted to her every morning when they first walk in. She uses that as a kind of attendance. For a classroom environment, when you first walk into the class, Miss Murphy's desk is right here. Then there's a couple rows of about 4 for 5, so 20 seats. There's bookshelves on this corner at the far end, and then at the other far end, in this corner, there is a desk for a para that works with her closely almost every other day, which is very helpful because Ms. Murphy says that some of the classes can be very rowdy, and I myself have seen that as well. Um, for her rules, she mostly has them silently working on assignments from other classes. Because due to her being a junior to senior class, her main goal is to get all of her students ready to graduate. So make sure that their grades are great and they're doing as best as they can, and that they are on track to graduate either next year or that year. And for her rules, she keeps them mostly silent and she plays instrumental music, and she uses it as a kind of study hall for the kids. And whatever children, she addresses them after their daily word. So when they first walk into class, there's a word on the front board, and they have to write what they think the definition is and write it in a sentence and send it to her. After all of that is done, she compares what they wrote to the actual definition and then has them write a new sentence and has a conversation about that. Some of them share their sentences out loud afterwards. And then after that, she turns on the instrumental music and has them start working on assignments from other classes, because that is her main goal, to make sure that they have all their assignments in so that their grades are as best as they can be for graduation. Whatever students need her help, she and the para ask them to come up. Well, I wouldn't say para. She's more of an assistant teacher. Her official title, though, I believe, is either para slash assistant teacher, and she helps students with whatever assignments that they need help with, just like Miss Murphy does. So they'll have students at either desks working one on one with them and talking them through things, and they'll be calling up students name by name. So Miss Murphy and her assistant slash para teacher is going through the list of names and asking them if they need help, if they want to talk about this or that, or if they need more advice on an assignment, if they want Miss Murphy or the assistant teacher to read through an essay and give them any pointers before it's turned in, anything like that. If they're there, Miss Murphy and the other teacher are there to help the students. Um, for classroom culture, uh, one activity that I really like about the room is Miss Murphy has discussions with the students one on one at least once a week, not more than really, but all of her students. She is, because some students do need more help than others, so she'll be talking to them more than some of the students who really have it together on their assignments. But because she has an ESE class, most of her students have ADHD or maybe a learning disability like dyslexia or dyscalculia, or some of them are autistic. And I really wanted to be placed into an ESE classroom in high school because I wanted a comparison to the ESE classroom that I observed last semester that was in kindergarten for another teaching class that I took. Um, and it is very like opposite, to be honest. Not really polar opposite, but it's very different. Miss Murphy didn't really have any kids that had physical disabilities, while in the kindergarten class that I was in before, there were about two kids who were deaf and one kid that was blind and a child that was bound by a wheelchair. And there was a lot of paras and people helping them, and there was a lot of people in that classroom. There was a lot of moving parts to help all of these students have the best day that they could have. And with Miss Murphy, it's so many students. There's about 20 per class. She's got so many classes, and they all need help. But it's not help physically; they need more academically. So there's so many assignments for her and the assistant teacher to go through, and so many conversations that they have to have with the students. And yet, still, Miss Murphy has the time to pull students up every week and have a full, in-depth conversation that lasts really about like 10-15 minutes, that goes through what the student thinks they need help in most, how Ms. Murphy can help them in the future to make sure that they are on track and ready to go for graduation either this year or next year. Uh, when I first observed some of Miss Murphy's lessons, I was so surprised by how it went, because sometimes Miss Murphy has multiple students, like a large amount in her class of students who are taking the same class and in different periods, and they all need help. So she'll uh message and talk with the actual teacher for that class and ask them for their notes or the PowerPoint or whatever they use to speak on that lesson that they did in their class. And Miss Murphy will go about reteaching it in a slower manner to help the students understand it more and go into more depth for it. And watching Miss Murphy do that and ask questions and get the kids very like it not in depth, very, it was very back and forth. There were debates, there were questions. The kids seemed very comfortable to talk to Miss Murphy, and there wasn't any judgment on asking uh, what people will call, I guess, dumb questions, because most of the kids there wanted to ask the same question. And I just really loved how like interactive it was. That's the word I was looking. It was very interactive between students and teacher. um so for Miss Murphy's professional responsibilities, she really modeled professionalism, but she also was very kind and almost motherly towards the students. She was there for the students emotionally if they needed. She was there if they were having a hard time at a home. She would ask them, "Hey, do you need anything? Do you need this or that or the other?" And um, she was very she went to work. She got the things done that she needed to get done. She made sure that all of the students had an ounce of her attention to make sure that they had everything that they needed to do to move forward academically. And I thought that that was incredible. It was very professional. Everything she did was she would crack jokes in the classroom and always round the jokes back somehow to the actual lesson that she was teaching, and going back and forth with the students on debates. And she did this all in such a professional manner that got the children interested in the assignments that they are meant to complete in her class. And I found it exhilarating to see. And I really, really want to be a teacher one day that can do that, that can have debates with her students back and forth, and not debates, but really conversations about the assignment, get them interested and interactive in the lesson that is taking place. And you don't see that so much in high school, especially in seniors who are barely fighting off senioritis, and seniors who are barely there because they really just want to get it done. And just to see them so interactive and wanting to learn from her was really just incredible. And I found it awesome, just awesome. I While I was doing the assignment for Code of Ethics, I did have to resubmit, and I just did that actually a couple hours ago. But um, while I was doing the Code of Ethics and I was doing the research for that and going through all the things like the obligations for students and stuff like that, and I, while I was reading it, all I could think was how much Miss Murphy like embodies all of this, how much she works for the students, and I am so happy that I was able to observe her class because she was just so inspirational and inspiring, and it was amazing. And I'm so happy that I was able to watch her teach because it made me realize what type of teacher that I want to be. um In fact, I switched. I actually switched a couple days ago my bachelor's degree. I still want to be a teacher, without a doubt. But I switched what my bachelor's degree was supposed to be. I was supposed to switch to either Stetson or UCF for secondary education in English. But I switched it up and I decided to stay with Daytona State and do teaching K through 12 for ESC because Miss Murphy inspired me so much, and I'm so grateful for watching her class, and I'm so grateful for the teacher before that I was able to observe her class. And it's just to see all of these kids light up, just light up at the thought that they were getting through it and understanding the lesson and knowing that they are able to handle whatever assignment is to come to them in their regular like reading or English or math class. To see them like to see Miss Murphy teach the lesson and then to watch as the look in their eyes, the click when they get it, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And so many kids that weren't in her class anymore, like they transferred out because they needed to get another credit done, or they just or the younger siblings of students that she's already had, they'll come in and they'll say hi and they'll be like, "Hi, Miss Murphy, how are you doing?" My brother says hi, and my parents, they say hi, "How have you been?" And it is just incredible that she has had such an impact on all of these students when she has only worked at FPC for 2 years. She used to work in South Carolina, and she worked at a school called Brooklyn Casey, she said, and she was an ESC teacher there. And just the amount of kids at FPC who felt so like impacted by her in just such a short span of time is truly incredible. Uh, Separating from that, not only was she working hard with the students in her class, she was also working incredibly hard. I saw her preparing for IEP meetings after IEP meetings with students and their parents and their counselors, and some of them have therapists that they work through, and the way that she was so in depth in writing IEPs and coming up with a plan for the students and working with all of these other professionals that are all working towards the student is incredible. And you can see, and I could see sometimes throughout the couple weeks that I was observing her, I could see how sometimes it wore on her, or she got tired, or by the end of the day, she was just exhausted with all of these meetings that happened after school. Actually, the last day, Friday, the last day I was with her, she had an IEP meeting from 3 to 3:30, and she allowed me to stay, not stay for the IEP meeting, really, but she allowed me to help the parent in another like classroom setting, something else up for a different teacher. And then I came back after like 3:30, and I saw her after the IEP meeting, and she looked worn down, but she still had like it wasn't frustration that she had. She was like glad that that what she needed to get done for that student got done, that she was able to speak to the parents and come up with a plan, and everybody was working for the student. She's just incredibly inspirational, and I'm so happy that I was able to observe her. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to observe such an incredible teacher. And I truly enjoyed that part of this course. It was amazing. And just thank you again.